Tough choice. I could sing a little song with Ratscrew Rhapsody, but I think Jungle Skog is the play for now. This reduces all damage dealt to my cards by 2.
Cool, I think it's your go now.
A fine move. I love that bear. That bear is so cute. No matter. It's no match for my what. This lets me roll a dice and steal 4 dice tokens from you, including your beloved freak dice. I would be sad about that, but emotional damage is a type of damage, and so that's reduced by 2 thanks to Jungle Skog.
You're done? Cool.
If you successfully get real, get 1 point. I like thinking about things that matter to me. I like thinking about things that matter to me, but the only things I feel like making videos on are things that fall in the Venn diagram of things that matter to me and things I feel like nobody is talking about. This game, then, must really matter to me. And it does. No game has forced me to be as creative, or made me laugh as hard, or made me appreciate my friends as much as this game has. And I am so excited to tell you about it. Do I get a point for that? Do you think that counts? This is a review for the card game 1000 Blank White Cards. A game that, above all else, brings the right people close together. A game for creatives. A game for people who like games. A game where the game is whatever you want it to be. All it is a set of index cards and some rules. But I lie, because it is so much more than that. All in all, this game is pretty simple. All you have to do is...
Hold on there, buddy! This is the Caveat Zone. The only zone where you can find caveats galore. Call now, forever hold your peace. I'm not joking around. This game exists in myth and legend, and therefore some of its rules are transient. Whenever you hear this noise, know that what I've just said is a homebrew rule, done differently by others. Or something I just
want to elaborate on later, just because I got extra context to add to, it's sort of like an asterisk in video.
Oh, what's this in my pocket? Another caveat. Whoa!
Sorry about that. You get used to it. He's pretty chill once you get to know him. Anyway, give a handful of blank cards to each of your friends for them to make not blank, and then add all of those cards to a shared deck, also adding in some blank cards. Shuffle that up and deal 3 cards to each player, and you're ready to start. On your turn, draw a card and play a card. The first player to 10 points wins the game. If at any point you draw a blank card, you may write on it. And that's it. That's the whole game. At this point in time, your friends may ask, so what are the rules for writing cards? In which you get to respond, rules are for chumps, there are no rules. Oh come on, can't I have any fun around here? In which case your friends may react with A, a devilish grin, B, a look of horror, or C, all of the above. You see, the simple rule set works perfectly in tandem with the core conceit of the game. Right similarly here, the rules stay out of your way so the stupid stuff you and your friends make can take center stage of a very absurdist local theatre production. I haven't been fully honest here. I've half obscured a half rule that makes this game truly shine. You see, whenever you're done with any given game of 1000 Blank White Cards, you repeat all the setup steps as usual, except you add on to the same deck you played with last game. It's additive, and you can keep doing this as much as you want. And then the next time you play, maybe you start a new deck, or you keep adding on to that same deck and create a deck way too tall. It's great, and that's why I have all of these. But the thing is, this allows for some of the most cohesive and hilarious storytelling I have seen in any board game, and I am not kidding. Now that sounds like a crazy statement, so let me give some examples. One game, well actually before that game had even begun, a friend of mine created a little pig sculpture out of blue tack, dubbing it MC Hammer. Of course, then once the game begun, multiple cards were created that related to MC Hammer. Cards that let you take pieces off MC Hammer, or take MC Hammer for yourself, or making MC Hammer part of the game, or giving MC Hammer the sticky condition. Whenever anything bad happens to MC Hammer, its creator would exclaim, "No, MC Hammer!" He has an American accent. And that voice clip is like stuck in my mind. It was just a great bit. It was a really great time. Another time, before the game had started, a friend drew a guy on a 10 of clubs that we found outside on the floor, and named it Glimbly. Then, of course, a card was created that let you take Glimbly into your hand. However, while that was being created, another card was being made that stated, "Destroy a card in play by any means necessary." Glimbly was not safe. Chekhov's gun style, Glimbly began being shredded to pieces. But before he was fully shredded to pieces, I made a card that said whoever destroyed Glimbly had to fix him by any means necessary. Glimbly was then repaired with just some masking tape and a dream, and then laminated as a keepsake. Look at him. Look at what he went through. The fact that you not only write cards before the game, but also as the game is happening, means there is an absolutely sublime amount of yes-anding. Someone writes a card that tells you to gain 5 Scrimblow tokens? Great, figure out something to represent those tokens and gain them. Someone writes a card that tells you can convert your Scrimblow tokens into points? Great. Someone writes a card that calls for a dice to randomize the exchange rates of the Scrimblow tokens? Congratulations, Scrimblow stock market. This game makes you feel like a damn genius. Making your own cards is fun. Playing other people's cards is fun. Making cards that build off of other people's cards is super fun. But one of my favorite things to do is make cards that flip other people's cards entirely on their heads. One of my friends made a card that just said, "Ramble about a subject you like for a minute and then get a point." Obviously the ramble had no gameplay effect, there was no point to it other than it just being a fun thing to do. Then I made a card that said you get 2 points if you can recall something from that ramble, as asked by the person who did the ramble. And so now, anytime someone rambled, everyone was locked in on listening to exactly what they were saying in case they were asked a very specific question about something that was said in that ramble. Isn't that just fun? Damn, I love flipping things on their heads. I love flipping. When you play this game, you'll start to notice that you and your friends develop certain brands of cards. Like one of my friends who constantly writes really funny cards, including a series of ASMR boyfriend cards where the player has to act out an ASMR of a boyfriend doing increasingly specific things, sometimes involving T-Rexes and death. Another one of my friends constantly writes cards with HP and damage despite there being no pre-existing rules for what those things mean. And another one of my friends likes writing themed cards every game, like one game where he wrote a whole bunch of pirate-themed cards, including one that made you talk like a pirate, and one that made you eat an entire orange to stop getting scurvy. And for points. To some extent, this may seem more like a glowing review of my friends than it does the actual game, but that's kind of exactly what the game is. A perfectly clean mirror that reflects your friend's abilities, wit, and deviousness, that blends itself together into a perfectly hilarious stew that has shards of mirror in it. Whatever. Analogy lost track. Point is, this game is your friends, and you're playing it with your friends, which is awesome. Plus, no other game does this. You get a little deck. There was supposed to be a deck here, but I forgot I was going to throw a deck of cards to look through and remember all the silly times and silly cards that were made along the way. The real friends was the deck we made along the way. Speaking of friends, the amount required to play this game is really only one friend. It's magnificent at every player count from 2 to like 8 players, because even when it's not your turn, you're still either engaged watching people react to the cards you've made, or engaged looking at the weird cards your friends have cooked up. Oh god. He's back.
Hi. I've calmed down. All of the caveat bells you've heard so far have just been flagging minor rules alterations. Most of the caveat bells you've heard so far have just been flagging minor rules alterations. You see, you can start the game with as many cards in your hand as you want, you can create as many cards as you want before the game begins, and you can play as a first to 10 points, or the person with the most points when the draw deck runs out. The main thing I wanted to talk about here was the kind of freedom of expression that inherently comes with the game. You can imagine if you were playing with someone who was inconsiderate, or someone who was weird in a bad way, or someone, God forbid, you didn't know very well, it could end, well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it could end in a sugar-free train wreck. So, for my money, it's a game you can only really play with people you trust. Or maybe at most one friend of a friend and a group of people you trust.
I don't want to say that my main criticism for the game is your friends might be bad, but like, that's exactly it, right? If the thought of letting your friends run wild on a game that has no rules and trusting them to prioritize fun over winning the game sends shivers down your spine, then I would say this might not be the game for you. One thing out of the default or canon 1000 blank white cards playbook that I don't use is the concept of a bad box. Or just like at the end of every game, you go through the deck and choose which cards to keep in and which cards to put in a bad box, and they stay out of the game from then on. But that just doesn't sound very fun, I don't know. The idea of telling my friends why their cards are bad doesn't really sound like a good time to me, so I would rather just start a game with friends that I know will make fun and interesting cards.
And that's it. I think that's all I have to say. This video, despite not being a very long one, was quite a long one in my books. That's because, you know, writing a lot is hard, especially keeping it all in my head. Writing isn't really my strong suit. And it's also just scary, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, despite the general scuffed nature of it all. But before you go, I do have a survey that I've put in the description that would really probably help me if you filled it out, just to kind of see how well I've done and get some feedback on the video and how I can improve in the future, because I'd like to do that. Hopefully I make another video soon. That's my goal. Every time that I make a video, I say I'm gonna make another one, and then about 6 months pass and I'm like, maybe I should make a video. But I'll actually try this time, so we'll see how that goes. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for filling out that survey if you choose to do so. Thank you so much, Louie Zong, for all the music in this video, except for 1 or 2 tracks, which were me, I think. And other than that, bye-bye!